We would like to thank your sponsor, Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union and a member-owned financial cooperative serving the Okanagan, Similkameen, and Thompson regions. They offer a wide range of banking and investment services for individuals and families. Valley First also has a talented business and commercial team to provide the expertise, products, and services local businesses need to grow and thrive.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Matters, presented by Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union. My name is Rob Capello, and today we welcome Lorraine Richmond to Business Matters. Lorraine, thanks for taking the time to join me today.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here.
Awesome. So, Lorraine, you're the Executive Director of HOPE Outreach Okanagan, which we'll talk about. You're the principal of Lorraine Richmond Leadership Coaching as well. And I read that you're an espresso drinker as well. So there's lots to fit in a day for you.
It's a full life, Rob. It is a full life.
Love it. So we're going to unpack a little bit, about your journey. I want to hear a little bit, and then we'll talk about HOPE Outreach as well. So we're going to start maybe, I was looking at your past roles and your background, and I see you had a background working in the school district, and then you're in coaching in nonprofits. And I'm curious how that journey came to be, like where the change came for you. Or working in school, I believe it was like an administrative in school district, and then where did that change come where you wanted to get into coaching and then nonprofits?
It's a really fun question to ask. I think every human has a journey where they've never been before, but by engaging in our own journeys, Rob, it's like we notice, do I want more of this? Do I want less of this? And that's what it was for me. I'm very purpose driven. So my values are really central to how I want to live.
Right.
And so while I was in the school district, I would often be invited to speak, to talk about leadership, and people loved it. And the applause was great until about a week later. And then over time, just noticing people are enthusiastic in the moment, but what does real sustainable internal change look like? And so that kind of opened up the pathway to let's notice what change is like, rather than just, oh yeah, that's really good, I like it. You know, the binders that sit on our desks.
Yeah.
So I looked for something that might be a little different, where people who are ready, willing, and able to change would self-select. And that's what took me to the coaching realm, where coaching is different than counseling or consulting.
Right.
And I love that space where people get to make their own decisions.
Interesting. And I see that you had, you've had some roles in the nonprofit sector as well. We'll talk about HOPE, obviously, but you've worked in other organizations. Where did that come from? Like what influenced you, or in your life that sort of drove you to the passion of community work and nonprofit? Like where did that come from?
I believe that where we choose to show up does come from someplace. So our sites of shaping, I would say that my site of shaping, part of my community, part of how I was raised, part of how my parents were raised, were real influencers. So one of my early sites of shaping was the home that I grew up in. And I'm a prairie girl, big, wide open spaces, lots of room to roam. My mother was an immigrant, so she was a young girl during the Second World War, and talked about how the world, this is before social media, but somehow they knew that the world disliked them a lot because of their leader.
Interesting.
So being a good family, but people couldn't see who you were because I couldn't see past your nationality or who your leader was. Right. So I grew up listening to those stories and found a deep value and wanted to say to the world, my mom is a really great person. Like, can't you see her beyond that she is of German descent?
Right.
That's one story. There's many that have fed into that, where people are marginalized or exploited or invisible or set aside or demeaned because of something external or perceived that causes others to think less of them. So this value, Rob, of valuing all people matter, are worthy of dignity, we're not perfect.
Right.
Humans are worthy of dignity. So that's I'm greatly influenced by my own story.
So it came from from your childhood, from that. And as you said, like, everyone has a journey, but most journeys have challenges. You just spoke a little bit about it. So I'm curious, like, is there challenges or particular challenges that maybe you faced through your career that maybe contributed to what you are today? Like, and there might be many. Is there anything that really stands out for you that really shaped who you are today when you're going through your career?
I would say it's similar of what I just described, what my mother went through, where I would be in leadership positions or in a place, but
Right.
because someone didn't naturally identify with either my story or my perception,
Right.
it was like, move along, right?
Yeah.
Nope,
Right.
nope, not here, not now. I don't need all my ideas or my leadership to be accepted, but there is something, Rob, about the human longing to be seen and heard.
Right.
That's a really big driver for me. I know what it is to be in leadership and take risks and to let people down because of choices that I've made. I know what that pain is like. I know what that aloneness is like.
Right.
And I want to give my life to elevating people with dignity and value on their own journeys.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. So you mentioned, it's funny, we're having a talk before we jumped on the call about your background and all the books, and how leadership, coaching, culture, what worked 20 years ago is not going to work today. So I'm curious, like, if you had to describe your leadership style, and how it's evolved over the years, what would you say? How would you explain that?
I think part of the culture that I'm hoping is shifting as well, Rob, is from wanting or believing that I needed to know all the answers. I am a leader. I will have all your answers. Align with me and my organization, and we're going to change the world together. But kind of holding this space of, I needed to know it all. I was, there's never enough education, never enough learning, never enough time, never enough capacity. I'm tired just thinking of that, Rob. Like, I feel that in my body, this never enoughness.
Right.
So I would say that my leadership style is really one of partnership, of co-creating a better world together. Who are you? What are your gifts and talents? What's your lived experience? What's meaningful for you? What's your contributions and what are mine? And I have a strong belief that we are absolutely better together.
Yeah. That's and that leads to today, executive director at HOPE Outreach Kelowna, and I can see how everything's tying together there very nicely, if from your style and your leadership and your experiences as well. Maybe for listeners who maybe are not familiar with HOPE, and you asked me, rightfully so, a question. You're like, do you know what HOPE stands for? And I'm like, I don't. I should. So, maybe can you speak a little bit about who HOPE Outreach is, what your mission is, what your role is, and maybe, what does HOPE stand for?
Let's answer that question first. And then I'll explain the story. HOPE stands for Helping Out People Exploited. You'll notice that it's like our word. We say it, we don't always put the periods in between. People make up their stories about what HOPE means. But for the world listening, we began because of people noticed the need. People had compassion on what does dignity look like for those who are unhoused and underserved. Truthfully, they are our family. If not our immediate family, they are our colleagues' family. They are our best friends' family. So the HOPE roots really began with two women who had their own lived experience and life journey, found sobriety, found some stability, and vowed to give the rest of their life back to those who still live on the streets, who are homeless, who engage in whatever it takes to survive. So that's where it is. So right now, HOPE is boots on the ground. We have volunteers that go out almost every single night of the year. Downtown Kelowna and Vernon, kind of the only nighttime outreach.
Right.
And so we have several other programs as well. We have in our women peer support group, Jewels of Hope, which is our social purpose group. So there's a lot going on to care and create context and environment for women and those who wish to take the next steps for their own healthy journey.
Interesting. And how did the opportunity for you come about to be executive director? Like, how did that come about, and how did that circle tie together for you?
I knew the founder, Angie Lore. I knew her as a friend years ago. So that's it. It's who you know. And what is it, Rob? We say that we're most influenced by our own thoughts and the thoughts of people around us. So having Angie in my world was one of those things. And she knew this about me. She knew that of all the purpose causes in my life, if I had to choose one, it would be in the world of human trafficking. And I say this very gently, raised by a mother who knew what like real starvation, not to death, but felt like is if you are starving, you get to, there's an end to that, which is really, really sad. But if you're in human trafficking or you're involved in life and circumstances beyond what you can manage, you die every single day. And I wanted to take my values and say, what is that like? So along the way, Angie and the team said, we need a social purpose here. What is the social purpose? And they came up with the idea of Jewels of Hope with a number of, business consultants and other people that help that. And Angie just gave me a phone call. She said, Lorraine, I know your heart. I know your values. Do you want to take this social purpose? I had left Habitat for Humanity recently. I was coaching full time, but I had some time. It was COVID. It was COVID after all. So the values of working together with others for the greater good of someone else really fit that. So I took on the social purpose, was immersed in this world. And then when Angie retired, I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring and just see what else I might contribute to helping our people.
That's amazing. And I know Angie as well. She's an amazing lady. So I could see the connection there with you for sure. So I'm curious, beyond some of the program services you mentioned, can you maybe share how the impact the HOPE Outreach is having on the community? So you mentioned some of the program services, but I think there's more. Like there's more you're touching people personally. Maybe can you speak a little bit about that?
Touching the people who live in our community. I'm going to talk about the unhoused, the unhoused and the underserved. So by being boots on the ground, by wearing our pink hoodies or our HOPE t-shirts, trust has been built, Rob. And through that trust, we hear stories, we hear longings for next steps. In all the comments and conversations, we hear this over and over again. Please help me. I don't want to be here. This isn't my dream come true. I didn't want to do this as a child, but here I am. How can you help me? So what happens in the impact of our community is by walking with the people, by hearing them, not power over, but power with. One by one, they have the agency to make some choices. And we sometimes handhold them. But Rob, really great things, like some of those who were formerly unhoused are now attending Okanagan College. Some are working part-time for employers who are holding space for them. There's agencies in town who offer retail experience or experience building up their resumes. It's one thing to say, don't be like that, don't live like that. And then this really big gap of how to get from A to B. So the impact in our community is if we can walk alongside individuals for them to be able to make their own choices. The impact is huge. It impacts families. It impacts the parents who are longing for their children. It impacts the friends. It impacts our work, showing up to work when our loved ones are on the streets or are in substance use or are struggling with their mental health and can't make decisions or show up for their work. It impacts all of us. We can't see it. So there is visible impact, and that's what we often want to change. But HOPE holds a space for the invisible impact that will and does look like something over time.
But it must be so, like, the stories you're saying about, someone at Okanagan College or like, that's why you do what you do, right? Like, and you have, if you have to do it one at a time, like you're not going to systematically change everything at once, but seeing those, or is why you wake up in the morning and do what
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. We hear their voices because
Yeah.
they are real people to us.
Yeah.
When they say, help me, we want to help, but they need to do their own work, and we
Sure.
recognize that.
For sure.
Super exciting. We have a WhatsApp chat for our volunteers. And when, let's say, a woman is, moving to sober living housing, doesn't have a thing to, put in her little room.
Yeah.
And we ask, our volunteers, does anybody have this? Well, the message is flooded with things that people will just want to help, want to support, we want to elevate.
Right. Amazing. So shift gears a little bit on, we want to talk about your gala. So I believe it's the 4th annual gala event this year, I believe. Can you tell us a little bit about the gala, the significance, and what people can expect when they come that night?
It's a masquerade gala. So the traditional.
Yeah. Love it.
You may come with a mask, and we'll have free masks there for everyone. So that will be a really fun thing. We may come with a mask, but we really want those who attend to leave with their eyes wide open. So we will be sharing stories of the people that we serve. We'll be sharing the needs. We'll be sharing what HOPE does and where it wants to go and how it can make a difference in our community. So it's a gathering of those who might consider themselves friends of HOPE. People who want to make a difference, but some don't know how. Like, it's too big, Rob. It's too complex.
Right.
So here's one thing we can do. Here's 2 things we can do. So it's going to be a big party. It will be lots of fun. We have some great entertainment. We've got food by Roma Nord. So one of our latest places from the Rotary Arts Center, Summerhill Wine, lots of great things happening, really amazing silent auction items. So there'll be lots of fun. It will be a gala. We're celebrating all the good work in our community. And it will also be an opportunity to hear what's happening, what's invisible, and have an opportunity to make a difference in however people may choose.
When is the event, Lorraine? What day is the event, and where is it being held?
It's on November 18th. It's a Saturday at 6 o'clock down at Metro. So that's on Ellis Street, downtown on Metro. You can find the information at hopeokanagan.com/gala. There's just a banner at the top of our website. It'll be out on social media. So we would love for people to come. You can buy a ticket for yourself, for 2, or for a table of 8. And of course, the price gets better if you reserve it, invite all your friends to join you.
And I assume there are tickets still available?
There are tickets still available.
So
there's limited seating, but right now it's the beginning. And so we're open for people to rush their seats.
Love it. So how can you said, like, it's a big thing for people, like, sometimes to think about how can we help. So how can the community get involved? Maybe with the gala is one thing, but maybe just with HOPE Outreach initiatives throughout the year. Like, how can people that are listening, they're interested in getting involved? Like, what do you recommend?
I'm going to start with the invisible. And I would invite people, when they see the unhoused community, to see them as not a stranger, but as a human. So to decrease the stigma, but to see them as real people, to see them as your sons and daughters and nieces and fathers, and to be able to see them with curiosity and compassion. That's the biggest ask. It does feel overwhelming. It is overwhelming. A way to get involved, and there's many groups of people doing really great work in our cities, in Kelowna and Vernon, but a way to get involved is, so here's my coach hat, Rob. Is who are you?
Right.
And what is it that inspires you? And let's find a place for that. So you may not have time or money, but you want to do something.
Right.
So we collect things like, chocolates at Halloween, all those little chocolates. Chocolate opens the door to the people's hearts and to build trust. We need mitts and toques in both of our cities through the winter. Basic human needs. Our people need water. Through the winter, the water's turned off here in Kelowna. So dehydration is a thing. We try to buy water. We know what it's like during the wildfires when there is a lack of water. So the people that we serve live without basic necessities every single day. So I guess that costs money.
Yeah, right.
And monthly donations, people giving monthly so we can continue to give them basic needs like water, maybe a little bit of food, give them something to help keep them warm, are really great help. So monthly donations, one-time donations, all of that. We need money and oxygen to live in our world.
Yeah.
And we have feet on the ground of caring, talented people who will just make sure that goes directly to help them. And then volunteer. If someone has 2 hours, once or twice a month, we go out from about maybe 6:37, depending on the time of year, for 2 hours every night of the year to check in. We say, hi, my name's Lorraine. What's your name? They may or may not tell us. It may or may not be their real name.
Yeah.
But we say, do you want some water? Want a snack? Want harm reduction? How can we help? So for 2 hours, and we go out in groups of 4, you wouldn't go alone.
Right.
So for those who are comfortable or want to be more comfortable, that's a real need, Rob. Just showing up, decreasing stigma, saying, I see you, I hear you, I care about you. Right. So volunteering, giving, sponsoring, donating things like mitts and toques in the winter.
Right.
Basic human
Lots of ways, but there's lots of ways people can help. Like sometimes people think it's always dollars, which it is. You need, but there's, like you said, even if you could just give time like that, there's so much value in just that, right? So got to start somewhere.
We find that our volunteers are probably some of the busiest people in our community. And yet there is this values-driven way. I can't do all things. And I've done that most of my life as well, Rob. Perhaps you have too. I can't do all things. I can't meet all the needs.
For sure.
But this is my city.
Yeah.
This is my Okanagan.
Yeah.
And it's a thing.
Yeah.
I can do one thing. I can volunteer 1 shift a month.
Yeah.
Maybe twice, but maybe once.
Yeah.
That's not nothing.
Right.
That's making dignity look like something for the people that are in our cities.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that for sure. So if you look ahead, where do you see Hope Outreach in the next couple of years? Is there any new initiatives or expansion or anything sort of on the horizon that you can share, or anything you can talk about?
Things that I can share.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Rob. There are many aspirations. We're in the middle of our own strategic planning to say this is where we were.
Great.
Let's just stabilize this good work. Yeah. Let's be feet on the ground. So while we seek to say what else are the needs, let's work with the city, let's work with the province, let's work with the families. Right. While we are doing that, let's continue to be feet on the ground. So we are looking at several initiatives on what is innovative, what can we develop, what can be some of the game changers. And we believe that Hope can be a game changer for a number of reasons, but one of them, Rob, is that we are feet on the ground. Yeah. We're not sitting in our office with lots of books or not, or whatever our background is, and saying, well, I think, this could happen. We hear them, we see them, we walk with them. So we have some initiatives coming. We're still working through the strategies of them, of communications, how to keep our people safe, how to walk with them in dignity to where they might want to choose to be.
That's amazing. So I'm curious, on a personal note for you, like, how has your role at Hope Outreach maybe changed or influenced your perspective on leadership or community? Like, how's that changed from if you go back to before you started here and where you are today?
I'll refer to something that I said earlier. It's walking with. It's co-creating, it's collaborating, it's being team, it is being better together. I would say that has increased and elevated. I'm not the Messiah executive director. I can't do all things, Rob, but part of what I really strive and want to do is raising people to contribute their best, and to, if we all grow in our personal leadership, I mean, all leadership is personal leadership.
For sure.
All professional growth is personal growth. If we can open up our hearts a little bit, if we can do one thing or two things, then together we can be a community that does create positive, sustainable change and helps out those currently exploited, demeaned, invisible, discarded, disregarded. I think that's a better world.
That's amazing. And it might tie in, it kind of ties into the last question I have as we wrap up. Is there a message or thought that you'd like to leave our listeners with regarding Hope Outreach and maybe the broader mission of supporting vulnerable individuals in our community? And it ties into kind of what you're talking about, but is there one last sort of thought that you'd like to leave listeners with?
I'd like to leave the better together thought. It is my belief that any individual can impact another life, that an industry can be changed, that a community can alter its course for people. And I believe that we all living in the Okanagan can be better together, and we can together create positive change by doing your part. Yeah. So the message is, come to the gala, follow us on social media, hear our heart and our mission. And my message is, do what you can. Will you do one thing? Do what you can.
Amazing. Well, Lorraine, thank you so much for joining us today. I think like your journey, dedication, everything that Hope Outreach does in the community are truly inspiring for sure. And I think for our listeners, like you said, like events like Hope Gala are not only there to raise dollars, but to raise awareness. And it's, you know, it supports groups like Hope Outreach and other ones. So encourage everyone listening, get involved, get your tickets. I was at the first annual event. Amazing. You'll have a great time. You'll learn a lot. And hopefully walk away inspired as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, and continued success, and hope to see you at the gala.
Sounds great. All the best.
Awesome. To our listeners, thank you for tuning into Business Matters, and until next time, stay informed and stay inspired. Thanks, Lorraine.
We would like to thank your sponsor, Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union and a member-owned financial cooperative serving the Okanagan, Similkameen, and Thompson regions. They offer a wide range of banking and investment services for individuals and families. Valley First also has a talented business and commercial team to provide the expertise, products, and services local businesses need to grow and thrive.